Yo, yo, yo. We got a new edition of the Hockey Happy Hour coming at you. We got Brad Ryer joining us from the Sports Hounds, which you catch every Monday at 7:30. Got a lot of playoff hockey to talk about. We got draft lottery results to talk about. There's a lot on the plate here. Barry Trotz has been fired. We got a lot to talk about here tonight. Let's get this thing rolling. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that share. Let's go.
Let's go! This ain't the fuck night! Oh, this game can heat stink!
Oh, shit!
It's gone!
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a brand new edition of the Hockey Happy Hour, only on A2D Radio, empowered by Manscaped. The start of spring also marks the start of Testicular Cancer Awareness Month. Manscaped has partnered with the Testicular Cancer Society to bring awareness to testicular cancer, men's health, and early cancer detection. Manscaped is committed to raising awareness for the most common form of cancer in men aged 15 to 35 and giving support for fighters, survivors, and families impacted by testicular cancer as a part of their We Save Balls initiative. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code A2D at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code A2D at manscaped.com. Time to throw out your old hygiene habits and upgrade your life. He's Brian Daly. You can find him at BryGuy_85 on Twitter. I'm at Rob_Povia. Tagging in again for Matt and Sudi. And joining us tonight is Brad Ryer from the Sports Hounds, which you can find right here on A2D Radio Monday nights. Welcome to Happy Hour, Brad. How you doing tonight?
Good, and thanks for having me.
Of course, man, you bring the strong hockey knowledge. Obviously, we're going to be talking about your Rangers down 3-1 the Pittsburgh Penguins, hoping to fight back in Game 5. We got a jam-packed show tonight, boys and girls. We're going to get down. We're going to break down NHL's draft lottery and review where the 16 non-playoff teams will select in July. We'll also review all the action that has gone down in the first round of the Stanley Cup Playoffs and give live look-ins for tonight's action. But first, we will see a Game 7 in Round 1. Agree or disagree? I'm going to start with our host. We're generous here. We're hospitable at the Hockey Happy Hour. We're going to see a Game 7 in the first round.
Who we starting with? Me?
Our guest, Brad.
Oh, okay, Brad. It's all you.
Oh, okay. I think you're going to see 2. Although it's not looking good for Toronto right now. I think that's one series that's going to go 7 because the unpredictable nature of what's been going on in this series. That series, in my opinion, will go 7. I also think that the Carolina-Boston series is going to go 7. It just seems, especially the Carolina-Boston series, and I'll tell you why. Once you get to a point where there are ice played and a home ice has been established like that, it almost always ends up being a 7-game series. You know, both teams usually just continue to hold serve. So I think that's going to be also. And you know, in the West, it's hard to say. I think Minnesota should destroy St. Louis, and they're not. So that's hard to understand. Obviously, the Colorado series is over. Calgary seems to be having their problems with Dallas, which is to me very surprising. I thought Calgary was going to roll. As a matter of fact, I had, on my show with Rob, we were talking about who, we had to throw out. The rule was we had to throw out Florida. We had to throw out the Avalanche for the Stanley Cup Finals because any yin yang can predict that. That's not telling anybody that that. I'm sorry, Rob. I didn't know.
No, I am a yin yang. Continue.
Oh, okay, but anybody could tell you that because obviously they're the 2 teams to beat. We know that. So we made a rule that we couldn't pick one of them. So I picked Calgary and I picked Carolina, and Calgary to me has been very disappointing right now. I thought that they would go through Dallas like a knife through butter, and it just hasn't happened. And I'm really surprised because their goaltender Markstrom is really good, and I just cannot understand for the life of me what's going on in Calgary right now.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think in the East, we're going to see two. I think it's going to be this series that we're talking about here, Tampa Bay, Toronto, and I think it's going to be Carolina and Boston as well. Unfortunately, I think Penguins are going to finish up that series before Game 7.
I think it's going to go 6. I do think the Rangers are going to win tomorrow night. I think they're going to come out and try to salvage a little pride, but they're young and they're just not ready to be in the playoffs right now with these guys. You know, these guys are grizzled veterans, and we all know the innocent climb. And unfortunately, the Rangers are getting a good look at the innocent climb. It can be ugly when you first get there.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and then
we'll have plenty of excuses all summer about the embarrassment that's going on with that series. But hopefully these guys are going to grow up and we'll be a better team next year.
Yeah, and then Carolina and Boston, I think is going to go 7 as well. I mean, I think people underestimate Boston. I mean, I certainly have underestimated them in this series. I thought Carolina was pretty much gonna handle their business, and they really haven't. You know, they swept Boston in the first 2 games, and then they got swept on the road, and now we're looking at Game 5 tied up at 2-2. I mean, one of these teams have to win one on the road. You have to figure out ways to win on the road. Otherwise, you're not going to get to the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, but how many times have we seen teams, these series, once you get to 4 games, okay, and nobody's broken serve on the road, it usually ends up being a home series where everybody ends up winning their home games.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean that's happened over and over again. How many times have we seen that over the years?
Seen them a lot.
The easiest game to win on the road is Game 1. That's the easiest game because both teams are always a little nervous and
feeling.
Yeah, and especially the home team in Game 1, they're always going to be a little nervous. They may cough up the puck a couple of times early and get themselves in trouble, and that's usually what ends up happening. And that's how you win a series if you're if you don't have home ice advantage. Most times it's Game 1 that you win. No,
absolutely. And then in the West, I think that Dallas-Calgary series has been better than people expected. I know Dylan, who's one of our guys, he's a big Calgary fan. I thought this series was going to be a little bit of a longer series because people are sleeping on the Dallas Stars. They got a nice young goaltender. They have a solid defense, and they have a very physical offense. Guys like Jamie
Yes,
Benn.
they do. Yes, they do.
I think that's one of the reasons why Dallas has been in this series is because of their physicality up front. You have your goal scorers and J-Rob and Tyler Seguin, Jamie Benn can score goals. You have your goal scorers there, but these guys can also play a physical game, which is the same reason why I think St. Louis is sticking around in their series against Montreal or Minnesota. Minnesota can skate around them, but the physicality of the St. Louis Blues is going to keep them in that series, and it wears teams down.
See, I would have thought that Nicolas Delorier would have that between him and who's the other one, Middleton, that they got at the trade deadline.
I think so. I think
they got a couple of goons on the team now, and I would have thought that would have changed things, but apparently it hasn't. Not in the playoffs, at least.
I mean, I like Delorier. Delorier he's a great 4th line player. He's a great energy guy. He brings the physicality, but I mean, if you look at St. Louis is just built for physical play. They got big guys. Ryan O'Reilly being, numero uno on that list. He's another guy. Similar to Jamie Benn, he can play the offensive side of the puck. Good vision. He can pass. He can shoot. He can skate well. But he also brings physicality. That's another reason why I think this series is going to go 7 as well. Is St. Louis isn't necessarily, racking up all the goals, but they're beating them in the physical game, in the gritty game. And, you're relying on guys like David Perrin, a guy who has had no success anywhere else except for playing for the St. Louis Blues.
Yeah, that is a strange one with him, but, some guys just play better in certain cities, that happens a lot for whatever reason.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are going to be the 4 games that wind up going 7. I think we're going to see a few of them. And you know what? I'm good with it. I love the long series because you know what?
There's
It just
nothing
makes for
better than a
better.
game 7 in
Mhm.
hockey. There's nothing better than that.
It
Because
is. It is the
every
best.
time the puck goes into the other team's zone, okay, if you're a fan of that team, you're sweating bullets. Like, please don't turn it over.
I
Please
mean,
don't.
even if you're not, you're just really into the series. You're
Yeah.
sweating bullets. So
Yeah, please don't pass it cross ice. Please don't go D to D. Please go up the boards.
So I was doing some sharing there, Brian, but I heard your takes and I was listening. I didn't hear your answer though. Will we see a game 7 and how many in this round?
we see 4.
Yeah.
Boston,
4.
Carolina, Toronto and Tampa, St. Louis and Minnesota, Calgary and Dallas.
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing right there.
I think
I
so
hope
too.
you're
I was
right.
just saying, there's nothing better.
I hope you're right. I just have a feeling there's only going to be 2.
Yeah, and like this series, is kind of lopsided as some of them have been. You know, we're seeing a lot of goals scored. A lot of them are one-sided, but the series have been overall entertaining series to watch. You know,
How about LA and Edmonton? What a crazy series that is.
yeah. I mean,
LA got their brains beat in twice in a row, and then they come back and win 4-0.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like these teams, they have answers. You know, I mean, LA and Edmonton have been the exception, but for the most part, if a team gets blown out one game, they're coming and blowing somebody out the next game to just get blown out the next. Like, it's just these series have been back and forth, which is why I think we're going to see 4 game 7s.
Yeah,
I hope so. I really do. It'll be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah.
Well, one of our commenters want to get your opinion, Brad. He goes, "What does the Rangers fan think of Braden Schneider? I believe he's a star in the making. The guy doesn't stop attacking or going after opponents and doesn't allow them to transition through neutral ice or skate the puck in the zone. He forces them to dump it in. I love him so much." And before we get your answer, our first commenter of the evening is brought to you by Gleason's Bar. It's located at 6700 Mill Creek Avenue in Levittown, PA. Use promo code A2D for 10% off your order whenever you dine in, take out, or order online. Gleason's Bar and Steaks.com.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a star. I really like the guy. I mean, he kind of reminds me a lot of Jeff Bukaboom, and that's from the early 1990s. He hits a lot. He's very good with the puck. He can drop the gloves and go with anybody. He's not afraid of anybody, and he's not afraid of any situation. The only problem he has right now is his left defenseman, who really is awful and is not doing him any favors. Okay, and that's Patrick Nemeth. He's the problem, but Schneider has been really good. I'm looking for big things out of that guy. So, I would have to agree with Ryan about him. He's a big time. He's going to be a big time defenseman. I mean, he's pretty good right now, and he's got a real good shot too.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that kid. He's going to be something special, and it just kind of makes me mad because the Rangers have a very good young defensive core for the most part, with Miller, and I mean Trouba's still relatively young. Now you add Schneider to the mix, and there's somebody I'm blanking on, and it's
Adam
annoying me.
Fox.
Adam Fox.
Yeah,
dude.
That's your top 4 right there. That's your top 4 right there.
And Lindgren.
Lindgren's another good one.
I don't think the Rangers haven't missed him the last couple of games because he is. I mean, I'm sorry, and I don't mean to disrespect the Flyers, but Justin Braun stinks. He is. You guys fleeced us in that. We traded a 3rd round pick for that. I mean, are you kidding me? A 3rd round? We gave you a 3rd round pick. That is going to be a NHL player most likely for that. And he. I'm sorry, guys.
He has his moments, but I hear what you're saying.
He's so slow. And poor Adam Fox, when he's expecting somebody to hit somebody, Ryan Lindgren was always there. It was like, I mean, if you want to go back in the day, I mean, this is probably going way back in the day, but it's kind of like Bobby Orr and Dallas Smith. Dallas Smith was always back there every time Bobby Orr got himself trapped in deep and bailed him out 20 million times a season. and that was lingering. So Fox could go in deep, and somebody could bail him out and be back there and stop all the rushes. This guy's like a parking cone. So congratulations, you guys really got us with that one.
Well, it goes to show that that's the epitome of the Flyers defensive core, when Ryan Braun actually looked good playing next to the scrubs we got, but you put him on a Rangers team with lots of talented defensemen, and he looks like he's skating in cement. I hear you, but
yeah, and it doesn't help to lose Barclay Goodrow either. That's a real tough loss, because he's the experienced player that's been through it before and has won a couple of Stanley Cups, and he could have been out there after Pittsburgh scored and started a little ruckus and get everybody's mind off the goals that are going into the net, which he's very good at doing, as you know. He's a disturber, to put it very friendly. He's not Marchand disturber, but he's a disturber.
Now, to put it mildly, absolutely, you're correct.
I mean, Ant, how can he be the next Alexander Daigle when Justin Braun's at the back end of his career? Sorry,
he
bro.
was really good in Anaheim. I will give him that. He was really good when Anaheim was winning Stanley Cups in 2007?
Yeah,
or 2008, or when was it? 2008, 2007?
2007, but I think Braun was a Shark. He was never a Duck.
Yeah, that's right. Shark.
I thought he was a Stanley. He was a Shark? I thought
He was a Shark.
I thought he was a Duck.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
But but
I was taking him back then.
Plenty of years he should have been holding the cup.
But he was really good back then. But that was a long time ago.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, wasn't he? Was he on the pairing with Brett Burns, or was he with Marc-Andre Vlasic? So I think either way, those, you're with, one of those two guys in a defensive pairing.
I don't think he was with Burns. No.
Yeah, but either way, you're on a pairing with those two. Those two guys are going to make you look really, really good.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Either way, absolutely. But he hasn't gotten the job done. But everybody wants to throw stones at Igor right now, and and he's given up a lot of goals. But last night, I don't know how many of you guys down here watched the Rangers last night and watched the whole game, which I kind of did while I was doing the show. None of those goals were his fault last night. I can't sit here and blame him for those goals. And I am very good at blaming goalies for goals. I kind of have that very mean attitude towards goalies, because I do think that they kind of mess plays up and allow goals to happen. But, when you're getting 2-on-0s and you're and the defense is allowing guys to be all alone in front of the net, the other team gets paid too. And they're going to score. These are, the best of the best, especially when you're talking about Crosby, and Malkin, and
Carter and
the annoyance who's killing us, Jake. What the hell is his name?
Gensel.
Getzel. Yeah, he's just.
Dude.
I mean, we're making him look like Mike Bossy, for crying out loud. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, he's talent. He's got talent though.
Yeah, no, I know he does.
But let's shit on the Penguins. Don't allow me to stop you shitting on the Penguins. My bad.
Yeah. It drives me nuts.
So what you're saying, Brad, is that the absence of Lindgren is making Igor kind of fall off. Now, we found out today that he's one of the finalists for the Vezina, has had an outstanding regular season. It's been the defense in front of him, these playoffs, that have taken him away from that Vezina form.
Absolutely. I mean, look at it this way. Okay, during the season, the Rangers gave up 195 goals, something like that. Mm-hmm. They had the second best goals against in the NHL this year. The Hurricanes were first. Okay, so you have to look at it this way. They also had a streak where they had 3 shutouts in a row. So they were playing good hockey this year. They had shut out the Tampa Bay Lightning. In the 4 games against the Penguins, they only gave up 3 goals during the season. It's hard to imagine what's changed. Igor hasn't changed. It's just the defense around him is just they've been impossibly bad. And last night, every goal that went in was either tipped in, a shot that was in front of the net, or 5 guys in front of him where he was screened and he couldn't see the puck. And although it may have looked at the naked eye that he was shaky and having problems, I mean, how are you going to stop deflected shots like that? It's hard to do, and especially when guys are standing in front of the net and nobody's covering them. I mean, the defensemen, I think, are doing a pretty good job in their own zone, but the forwards are not coming back and they're not doing the job. And for all the credit everybody gave to Mika Zibanejad, for example, for being a two-way player and playing the whole 180 feet of the hockey rink, he hasn't covered anybody in his own end. And the face-offs are just abominable. And this has been a problem for the Rangers for years. They don't win face-offs. I mean, even when they played you guys, they weren't winning face-offs.
Right.
If Giroux ever took a draw, they were automatically going to lose. Automatic. And nothing's changed them. Even though they went and got Andrew Kopp, he's not really a center. So he's not a face-off guy. He played center in college. I mean,
Right.
Yeah, he definitely, when he was in Winnipeg, he wasn't a center. He was a
wing.
He was a second line winger. I'm trying to think of who was his center. It wasn't Brian Little and it wasn't Blake Wheeler. I don't even think it was Shifley.
It wasn't Sheffield, was it?
I
No.
thought it was Sheffield. No.
No, he I think he always centered the first line with Wheeler on the one side and Lonnie used to be on the other side. But I think it's
the sniper. What's his name? Who's the sniper on that team? I can't remember his name now.
It was Lonnie, but now
Lonnie.
it's why am I blanking on his name?
Yeah, I'm blanking on his name.
Pierre Lou.
Phenomenal goal scorer. He had 40 goals this year. I just can't remember his name.
Kyle Connor.
Yeah. That's the first line. So he was on the second line. No, he's a good player, and he fits in perfectly with Panarin. But Ryan Strome clearly is not the answer either as a second line center. He also disappears in big games. We've seen that before. I mean, I know it wasn't the playoffs 2 years ago in the bubble, but we saw Ryan Strome get destroyed by the Carolina Hurricanes 2 years ago in the play-in games. So that doesn't surprise me. But their forwards need to come back, start playing defense, and start hitting like they did in Game 1 in the first period. Now, Ryan Reeves cannot be the only one throwing checks. Okay, you can't. I mean, he can't play the whole game. He's not skilled enough to be an important player. Okay, so you can't depend on him to be throwing all the hits and scoring goals too. You can't do that. Some of these other guys got to go out there and start throwing their weight around and being tough, because the Penguins are skating around them, and the Penguins are just getting a free pass to the net. Somebody has to get some lumber in the face. Clearly and simple.
From what I've seen of that series, Brad, that's exactly what I've been seeing. And it's not totally unsurprising. You have a young Rangers team coming in here, not really being familiar what it takes to play successful playoff hockey. And it's a physical, you ramp up the physicality 10 to 100 times.
Yeah. I mean, they've been as soft as butter in this series, and you can't have that. You've got to be a tough team. They've got players who are tough on that team that play with an edge. But for whatever reason, they're not playing with an edge in the playoffs. I don't know if they're scared because it's the playoffs and they don't know how to react. I don't know what it is, but it just seemed to me, especially last night, that after the Penguins got that disputed goal, which the puck never went in the net. I didn't see it go in the net. And if the referee lost sight of it and then said no goal, why wasn't the whistle blown and why was the goal allowed? The referee lost sight of the puck. That was my major complaint. After seeing it a few thousand times after the show, I was watching some of the highlights again, and my problem was you lost sight of the puck. Okay, why didn't you blow the whistle? Nobody could see the puck. Okay, and I still haven't seen a definitive picture of whether that puck ever went in the net or not. But, as soon as it went to Toronto, you knew the goal was going to count because Pittsburgh always gets those calls. Always.
Yeah.
I mean, we know that. Game one.
Sucking
game
the
one
teeth of Crosby and Malkin for sure.
Yeah, the game one was a travesty. That one goal that the Rangers scored that they took away from them. I don't know if you saw that goal. With 3 minutes to go.
Yes.
I mean,
the goal that they called goaltender interference.
Yeah, Capo Caco was getting ridden right into the goalie. Okay, he had no way of avoiding the goalie, and the Rangers scored on the play, and they said no goal, goalie interference. Now, if you are ridden into the goalie, that is not goalie interference. I know the rules. Okay.
We talked about it shortly after it happened, and I told you we were on air. I didn't see the goal, but I went back to it. He was 100% ridden into him. That should not have been goaltender interference. I agree.
Yeah. We're going to be crying about that all summer, of course, because that's what we do as Ranger fans. We always find something to cry about, and we've got to blame somebody. So we're gonna blame Toronto all summer. That the series is 2-2, it should be 2-2, and it's 3-1. But we can't really blame Toronto for the fact that after the Penguins scored that goal last night, they kind of mailed it in. It's almost like they gave up, and that I didn't like. That was bad.
Right.
Yeah, I think that mentality, comes from a lack of inexperience and being a young team, which the Rangers are. But the Rangers are a good young team. This isn't going to be the only year they're in the playoffs. They're not a flash team, but as they get older and they mature, it's just going to get better. This experience for them is going to be good in the long run. Versus, I mean, if you look at the Eastern Conference, Eastern Conference is loaded. You got all 8 teams in the playoffs with at least 105 points. So, it really is a crapshoot. Yeah, it's a crapshoot in the NHL. For the Rangers, I would take this experience, even if, say, they do get booted in the first round, you take it and you run with it and you learn from it and you go in the next year like, listen, we know what we did wrong. This offseason, we're going to shore up a couple spots here. Try and keep the roster as similar to this year as you can, because obviously you need to improve in certain spots. Guys are going to walk to free agency. All this, shit's going to happen.
Right.
But then you just come into the next season. It's like, listen, once we get to the playoffs here, we can't keep that same mentality. You just got to keep growing.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. They'll be. I mean, they're going to be okay. They're going to be okay. They're going to be a real good team for a while. They got a long open window to try to win right now. So, and this will help. But you don't want to see them get clobbered. I mean, it's bad form. It's bad form.
You're not going to get anything from that, but you got to go through it to get through it. And I think they've been starstruck going against, guys that have been there, done that, going against a Crosby and Malkin-led team. But you got to go through series like this and represent, though. Don't get clobbered, like you're saying. Represent, but almost like you take it on the chin and it improves your chances for the next time you're there. And I don't want to take it for granted because you can never portend when you're going to be back. But
the first round,
Brad, you've seen many series like I've had. You've seen many years of hockey like I have, and you've seen teams have a playoff series like this, and they're better for it in following years.
Oh, absolutely! Listen, Gretzky and company didn't got knocked out in the first round before they took the Islanders to 6 games. I believe the year before that they were out in 4 straight. If I remember correctly. That was back in 1980, right?
Yeah.
Were they out the first? Yeah, they got swept. And then the next year they played the Islanders, and they took them to 6 games, and then they started their run. But even Gretzky got slaughtered his first year, so it's hard when you got a bunch of guys who've never been there before. I think the only one really that had experience was Kreider.
Right. Yeah, and if you want to look on the other side too, look at Louis Domingue. Like he was just kind of thrown into the spot. The Rangers are playing not only just a hot goaltender, a confident goaltender that's playing with a confident defense in front of him. So sometimes that's the hardest thing to overcome is a confident, hot goaltender. I mean, Flyers in 2010, Michael Layton, by no stretch of the imagination, is a Stanley Cup caliber goaltender. But was a part of the reason why they got there because he got hot at the right time.
Right.
Boucher too.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah,
forget
Boucher
him.
too.
He was fun. I mean, wasn't Boucher the one that was in net when the Rangers and Flyers the last game of the season had the shootout,
Mm-hmm.
and he outdueled Lundqvist, and back then Lundqvist was Mr. Shootout.
Yeah.
So
no,
no, you're right.
Results.
Yep.
Surprising results for our poll tonight, which is being brought to you by BetUSA. They're a leading online sportsbook who has been in the market for over 25 years. You can bet anywhere in the U.S. on everything. Use the link down in the comments below for 125% sign-up bonus.
Jim at FLA brings up a great point here with this stat. He says, stat says it all. Rangers, 414 playoff games in their lineup. Penguins, over 1,250 playoff games and over 20 plus Stanley Cups. So
absolutely. I mean, listen, the Penguins know how to win playoff games. The Rangers are just getting a taste of playing in the playoffs, and that's the big difference. You know, and right now they're not up to it. Hopefully tomorrow night, getting back at home with a home crowd, I do think the Rangers are going to win Game 5, and then they will go back to Pittsburgh and get clobbered again. But I can deal with it if they lose in 6. I'm not going to be happy if they go tomorrow and they get spanked. That will not make me happy over the summer. That's not good enough. You know, at least don't let them celebrate in Madison Square Garden, for God's sakes.
Ranta standing tall on the power play here in the second period. Cross ice pass over to Pasternak. Going post to post and robbing Pasternak of a goal with a wide open net.
Another former Ranger.
It's another guy too. You know, he was good
when he was with the Rangers. He was we talk about guys who aren't Stanley Cup caliber, and obviously when Frederik Andersen comes back next round for Carolina, he's going to take back the starting role. But you hit a hot goaltender, especially in the playoffs. They can be tough to beat. Now, going into Game 5 for the Rangers, I think if the Rangers can figure out a way to beat Louis Domingue for more than 2 goals, realistically, you want to try and see if you can get 3 or 4. I think that makes the chances a little bit higher for the Rangers to win Game 6 back on the road. If you can get into Domingue's head and get him out of his confident play, I think the Rangers can force a Game 7. I really do. But they've got to find a way they've got to start forechecking and hitting and forcing turnovers in the offensive zone. I mean,
a lot of that comes from confidence too, and a lot of that stems from confidence too. A confident offense is gonna figure out ways to sustain offensive pressure, and we've seen it in a couple of these games. Carolina right now, they're on the penalty kill, but we're 6 minutes and 30 seconds left in the second period. They have 8.5 minutes of sustained offensive pressure in this game so far. And it's only 2-0, but they're a confident offensive bunch. And when that tends to happen, you figure out ways to, forecheck and win puck battles and, clear the zone when you need to and create rushes on the offensive side and transition well. It's just a part of the game. It just happens. Confidence is a big part of this game, especially in the playoffs.
And let's see, we got from Dan Mindel, the Rangers have never had an American MVP.
So? And
okay.
We love Dan.
For
some reason.
Okay, so they never had an American MVP. Chris Kreider was pretty good this year. I know he's not going to be a Hart Trophy candidate, but he scored 52 goals and he's an American. Is that okay, Dan? I just asking.
He should definitely be a Hart candidate. Will he win it? No, it's probably going to go to Austin Matthews.
Exactly, or McDavid.
Yeah, or McDavid. I think it's going to wind up being Matthews for hitting 60 goals this year. But he should definitely be in the conversation. He should definitely be in the conversation.
You would think so, but
he had 50 goals this year. He should definitely be in that conversation for sure.
Well, Dan, I guess my other question is, does the Norris Trophy count? Because Adam Fox last year won the Norris Trophy. Is
defensive MVP? It better.
Yeah, yeah, so that's an incorrect statement. So I mean, I just had to go to last year to find that one.
I mean, we haven't given out the awards yet for this year, so let's go. I'm all about that stat. You know, I actually I went through a little stint where I was starting to pull hockey cards again, and I was able to pull an Adam Fox Young Gun card. Essentially, that's his rookie card. Whew.
Nice.
If he keeps going, that card's gonna be worth a lot of money someday.
Probably is now.
I think I saw 150 going for that card right now.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. It probably those kind of cards are always up there very quickly. I mean, he's a good player. I
love Adam Fox.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that they had to get rid of Tony DeAngelo, but I mean,
yeah,
that was
Tony's fine in this game. I think with Tony though, I think a lot of it was
no, they were mad at him because he was just over the top with his political views, and it annoyed the owner. So when Dolan says that's it, get rid of him, they have to get rid of him. I mean, they don't have much of a choice there.
I mean, I've heard a bunch of different stories with Tony, but he's doing good in Carolina. He's found his game again. He's actually got a goal tonight. Both goals for Carolina have come from defensemen. Jacob Slavin had the first, and Tony DeAngelo had the second. But Tony, I think Tony's in a better place. It's less of a spotlight on him.
Absolutely.
And he can just get back to being him and playing his game. He's flourishing in Carolina. I thought he's had a great season.
Listen, he had a great season. He had a great season 2 years ago with the Rangers.
Yeah,
I mean, he really did. I mean, I remember he had a hat trick against the Devils in Igor's first game.
Yeah,
the first game Igor played in his career, DeAngelo had a hat trick that game.
I mean, this kid's a stud. Seth Jarvis got the third goal.
Carolina, Boston is not going to beat Carolina.
That's unfortunate.
Can't see that. Carolina, by the way, was my pick to go to the Stanley Cup Finals with Rob and I going, throwing out the two favorites and having to pick other teams. So we'll see.
Yeah, that was. I
kind of like Carolina anyway. I like them more than Florida. I just don't think Florida is really that great a defensive team. They're a great offensive team, but it just seems like teams that are hard to play against are better in the playoffs than teams like Florida right now.
And I think Washington
they're hard to play
shows that a little bit. I think
Carolina's tough defensively, but Florida's been stepping it up. Didn't they keep the Caps to 16 shots in that overtime win? Last night. That's pretty impressive.
They did.
Yeah,
they did. That their backs were to the wall last night. They had to they had to come back and play better.
Right.
I mean, that was that. If they lost that game, if they lost that game, they're down 3-1.
Right.
So,
holy crap! I didn't see that. Sorry, Jesse's comment here. He's getting $350 million to go to Fox when he retires.
Who's that?
I did not realize that for Brady.
Wow.
He's getting $350 million contract lined up for Fox to be the lead analyst for Fox Sports when he retires. Are you kidding?
Boy. So
can I be Tom Brady for just 1 week?
Yeah, right.
Just 1 week.
Yeah, well. Yeah, that would be kind of fun, wouldn't it?
I just want to be with Giselle for 1 week. That's it.
Just 1 week.
One day.
I'm not even worried about
a week.
Giselle.
A day.
I just want to take what it takes to be, great for, a week and then apply it to my real life and then make myself great. I'm great in my own ways. Don't worry about it.
Don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to get in trouble, so I'm just going to leave that.
Boys, I have an opportunity for a quick transition here because I know we wanted to get into the draft lottery. A lot of people have been buzzing about it. So talking about getting screwed, a lot of people in the Philadelphia area have thought that the Flyers got screwed by getting the 5th pick in the draft when the number is pretty much guaranteed, at least the top 4 pick. What were your guys' impressions of the draft that went down just before tonight's Boston, Carolina, and Toronto, Tampa Bay game? And we'll go through the order too. Open discussion. Floor is yours.
I mean, overall, it was kind of like par for the course for me. Like the draft lottery kind of is what it is. There's always one sleeper team that moves up. There's always one sleeper team that moves up. For the most part, unless you're in the top 5, you're pretty much staying pat. Like if you look from top to bottom, especially from the 6th on, everybody either moved up a spot or down a spot, or they stayed right where they are. Now I know, the Philadelphia fan base is doing what they do best and, lining up on the Walt Whitman, getting ready to jump off because they fell one spot. This draft, I think, isn't going to be the best class in the world. I think next year's is going to be even better, but I think this first round is going to be very, very
real
good. I think this year, the first round, you have some very good talent in that. I think, Brad, you were saying the top 22, maybe even a little bit further, but this top 10, especially outside from Shane Wright and the kid from Finland, I'm blanking on his name, and oh God, who's the other kid? Logan something. There's really no like sure thing, and not that there is a sure thing in any draft,
right?
But your top 3 guys are obviously going to be your 3 NHLers. And I was having a conversation with Joe Horakowski in the HUD Real Talk group. There's no sure thing. You never know what's going to happen. But if you want to look at it, and I was saying that Matthew Savory is going to be a really good top 5 pick for the Flyers. So you're not going to fall out of contention for him. I think he's going to be a really good fit. There's other couple guys. Connor Geeky's another one I'm big on. I want him to fall a little bit to 10th.
Right.
I want him to fall.
Did the Ducks get 10?
He's going to fit. Yes. Yes. He fits the build for Anaheim as it is. So Connor Geeky just fits.
Right.
But I think it's par for the course. I'm not overly surprised by any of the selections where any of the teams fell, and it just kind of is what it is. The lottery is just kind of blah to me anymore. It's nothing special.
Right.
It was special a couple of years ago.
Oh, I'm sure it was.
Lafreniere, yeah, for sure. And that's worked out well. Look, he didn't hit the ground running, but eventually found his game at the NHL level.
He scored 19 goals this year, and he had a beauty last night. But listen, a lot of guys don't necessarily at the age of 18 just walk into the NHL and light it up.
You shouldn't be able to do that.
If you remember a guy who used to play for the Canadians, you remember Guy Lafleur?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, took him 4 years before he actually started becoming Guy Lafleur. He was scoring like 20 goals a season for the first 3 years of his career, and just seemed like he was like the major disappointment, and then all of a sudden, from 20 to 50, and it never stopped his whole career.
Exactly.
And then he retires and comes back 5 years later and still scores like 18, 19 goals for the Rangers.
Yeah, exactly. And look at Trevor Zegras for Anaheim. He was a 13th pick. He wasn't a top 10 pick. He was the top 15 pick. And look at how he's changing the NHL. Like, he had an over the net goal to Sonny Milano. He's pulled off the Michigan at least 3 times that I'm aware of. Like, it's not necessarily where you pick, it's how you develop and how you scout these guys. It's what I'm trying to say. Like, yeah, it may be 5th. Is it great? Yeah, a top 5 is always great. Do you want 1? Yeah, but a top 5 pick is always great. You just have to make sure that you do the due diligence, check out all the players in the top 10, make sure you're scouting everybody, make sure you know how to develop the player, and you have the right coach for the player that you want to draft. I mean, I think that's the biggest issue with some of the players that the Flyers have drafted over the last few years is because you haven't had the right coach in place. The younger guys, you need a guy who can relate to younger players now. Like, and that's the biggest reason why I don't want Barry Trotz in behind the Flyers bench is not because he's not a good coach. He's a great coach. Don't get it wrong. He knows how to win. If you have a team that's ready to win now, great coach, great selection, call him. But you need a coach that's going to be able to help develop some of these younger players. And that's the situation the Flyers are in right now.
Well, he did develop some younger players in Nashville. Nashville went to the Stanley Cup Finals against Pittsburgh under him.
That was what,
So I mean,
2015?
it's not like he didn't. It's not like he's incapable of doing it. I think that may have been part of the problem in Long Island this year, was that he wasn't playing the young players enough. But look at how we developed Noah Dobson. Noah Dobson is a tremendous defenseman now.
No, I agree. I think that at one point he was, but I think just for right now, like for Barry Trotz, where he is in his career and where the Flyers are in their situation, they're in the beginning phase of whatever it is that they're doing. So to me, going after a guy like Barry Trotz,
suppose they decide that they want to keep some of their veterans. Okay, they want to. Let's say they want to keep Couturier. Okay, they don't buy out. What's his name? JVR. Okay. Which I think they should, but let's say they don't, okay, and they bring him back. And then you've got Kevin Hayes. Okay, you've got some veteran leadership on this team. Provorov is still a very, very, very good defenseman. It would be nice if he had a guy who could, play defense on the back end for him so that he could actually use his rushing skills to go up and down the ice. That would be nice. Okay,
yeah,
but
a healthy Ryan Ellis would be that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you get Trotz in. You bring in Trotz. Listen, he's going to teach every player on that team to play defense. He's got a lot of that Tortorella stuff going on with him. Okay, if you can't play defense, you're not playing on my team. I don't care how many goals you score. That's kind of always been a thing with Tortorella, and it's the same thing with Barry Trotz. And I think the Flyers need to get back to basics. When they won the Stanley Cup a million years ago, okay, they won it with goaltending, with Bernie Parent, and they had a great defense. They never allowed a lot of shots. Okay, Bernie didn't have to stop 40 shots a game, ever. Okay, that's what they need to do, and they need to have a system in place that's for defense. Now, Alain Vigneault, and I liked Alain Vigneault when he was on the Rangers, but the problem with Alain Vigneault is that he never taught defense. Alain Vigneault always wanted to headman the puck, and he didn't want his guys blocking shots. He wanted the goaltenders to stop everything. But that's not how you do it in the NHL anymore. Okay, right. You want to play layers, and you want to block shots. And what this guy last year? I mean, you guys remember when you lost to the Islanders 2 years ago in 7 in the playoffs in the bubble? Okay.
Right.
Barry Trotz coached that team. Look at how good defensively they were.
Tremendous with Pellick and Pollock. Yeah. Oh yeah.
But really, if you look at the team, if you look at the defensemen, was there anybody that great on that team?
Those two, I think I would put in that category as great.
Especially Islanders, yeah, I would probably say the same thing as Rob.
But it doesn't defeat your point, though. It doesn't defeat your point of what Brian Trotz brings in terms of that defensive mindset and how it can be effective, especially in the playoffs.
Are you going to tell me that they won't go down, that their goals against won't go down at least 50 goals next season if he's the coach?
No, I agree. And Ryan Ellis, especially being in Philadelphia, is familiar with the Barry Trotz system. Played under him for 3 years before he got canned.
Exactly. And you know what? It will not hurt any of these guys to learn how to play defense, and for their forwards to learn how to play defense. He's going to have them. They may be a little bit offensively. What do you call it? Challenged. Okay. That might be the case a little bit at first, but he can develop players. I mean that's a fallacy that he can't do that. How do you think Barzell ended up doing? He did pretty good with Barzell, I think.
Yeah,
I mean this past year he had left a lot to be desired, but then again so did that entire team. But I mean a lot of that could be.
Brian, let me ask you this: you start the season with 13 games on the road in a row.
I mean, that's tough.
Okay. Then you come back home and then you get 8 guys with COVID that are out. So you have to basically play your entire minor league team out there for like maybe a month. Okay. So how in the world can you overcome something like that? And that by the time they got their act together and started playing real good hockey, it was too late. They lost. They couldn't catch up. mean, they had a real good second half when everybody was healthy, and they didn't quit on them.
I mean, the one thing I will say is the Islanders are in probably one of the toughest divisions in the NHL, probably the toughest division in the NHL. But I mean, I was never huge on the Islanders. Yeah, I was never huge on the Islanders to begin with because, I mean, outside of Barzal, they don't really have a superstar. I mean, they play well together. You know, you have Anthony Beauvillier and Cal Cutterbuck. And they do the one thing that I love about Barry Trotz is he knows how to bring out the best of everybody's ability. It doesn't matter what it is. But I mean, if I want to jump back to the Flyers here real quick before I finish answering your question. Flyers are in a situation where I honestly don't think Chuck Fletcher knows where he wants to go. I don't know if he wants to rebuild, retool, or what. I just don't think he knows what to do yet. And right now, until he figures that out, I think he needs to put all options on the table as far as coaching goes. Do I think Barry Trotz is a bad decision? No, not even close. Do I have my preferences? Yes. My preference is Claude Julien, who's had the experience of, being in the situation that the Flyers are in with Boston and actually winning a cup with Boston. And then my other choice would be Paul Maurice, who's really good at developing young talent. Has he won anything?
That he is.
Not really.
That he is. But he's not really – he hasn't done anything, though.
And that's the problem. And I think that Winnipeg team has left a lot to be desired.
He's like Mark Crawford 2.0, isn't he?
I don't know if I'd call him Mark Crawford 2.0, but, I mean, I would definitely put those two in the same category.
Yeah.
He's an in-between.
But I'm more trying to get the best out of this organization, young talent, get these guys to develop into the players that they should be. Like TK should be a 25 to 30 goal scorer, not putting up 30 assists a year. He should be putting up 30 goals a year. Getting Couturier back to playing, the two-way game that he's comfortable playing. That he was just a silky finalist for the last 3 or 4 years. Getting these guys back to where they were, putting a good culture back in the locker room, which is, in my opinion, been long gone. And I think any of those three guys can really start to rebuild that culture. But to me, I'm focused on getting young talent developed. And I think Julien and Maurice are the two guys that I'm looking at specifically. Would I be upset if they took Barry Trotz? No. But if I think they're in a different situation where they're trying to win, like right now at this moment, I think Barry Trotz is a guy hands down. Hands down. No doubt in my mind.
Here's a question for you, okay? Before we even think about bringing in Barry Trotz, okay? Carter Hart, what's the deal with him? Is he going to be your franchise goal? Is he a franchise goalie?
I absolutely believe he is. I think you need to make the defense better in front of him for sure.
Well, that's why if you believe that Carter Hart is a franchise goalie, then that's why you've got to bring in a guy like Trotz and make this team a defensive-minded team. Okay, yeah, it may be hard to watch them at first because they're gonna have trouble scoring goals to start. But if you got what you think is a really, really good goalie, you want to have a good defense because then all of a sudden every game you're only going to give up maybe two goals a game. Okay, so even if your offense isn't that good, you can always find a way to score 2-3 goals a game.
Sure.
I mean, you
get the logic, absolutely.
You work on your you try to work. Listen, if it's not working, at full strength, you work on your power play and you try to perfect your power play so you can get some offense there. I mean, there are ways to get around that, and that's how they need to build if they're going to keep their guys. And also, if you believe in Carter Hart, if you don't believe in Carter Hart, ditch the whole thing. Get rid of all your veterans and start all over again. And if you're going to do that, then don't bring in Trotz. That would be silly. And I don't think Trotz would even entertain going through something like that either.
No, I think he wants to go. Yeah, absolutely. He wants to go to a team that wants to win right now.
Right. Well, everything that Fletcher has come out and said has been supporting Hart as he's our guy. We're supporting him. We need to play better defense in front of him. So that aligns with bringing in a Trotz system for him to improve the defense in front of him. But even if it shouldn't work out with Hart, the Flyers are also aggressively trying to get Ivan Fedotov over from Russia. They've inked him to entry-level deal. So that's your backup for Hart. If Hart should not work out as your franchise guy, you could still build that way with a coach like that, because you have another option as a potential franchise goaltender.
Yeah, and Rob, I preach, every season as every season begins, your goaltender is only going to be as good as your defense in front. So, and
you made me see it both ways, man. I was right on board with Brad. As soon as I heard Trotz was let go, I was like, let's go get him. And you know how I talk about other guys on the show that I'd be interested in getting for this team. I'm not going to abandon the Rick Tocchet train. I think that would be a good fit, but I think Trotz would be even better. You bring up a good point with player development, and as Brad just broke down, it depends on where your direction for the future is. Just like you said before the show, you got to do your due diligence. You got to bring in Trotz. You got to bring in Maurice. You got to bring in a Julian.
What about
right?
DeBoer?
And DeBoer would be an option too.
he
brought up what's his name? Tortorella. As well. There's a lot of options out there. Joel Q's hanging out there too somewhere.
I mean, was DeBoer let go of Vegas? Did I miss that? I mean, last I heard he was. When did that happen?
Didn't that? Wait a minute. He's not. Oh, is he coaching Vegas still?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, I heard.
He's
Yeah.
Vegas. Yeah.
Okay,
I think they might have let. I just assumed that they did let him go from them missing.
I thought that they let. I thought that they.
For one time.
I thought that he was. He's going to get canned. There's no way he's going to stay. They're going to keep him.
Right. So there's plenty of guys you can bring in an interview in here. So don't just assume, don't just target one guy. But importantly, identify what focus and direction you want to take for the organization and select the coach first. Get to the draft. I think you were saying that earlier today, Brian. And that's how you can start to turn this thing around, as the Rangers have in a short time period.
Yep, and we were talking about in the ATG chat on WhatsApp. Guys are asking me questions about certain situations with the draft now, and one of the things I said was, get your coach first. That's the most important thing. Get your coach first. You got to do your due diligence.
I read it.
We got time.
I might not responded, but I read
July.
it.
Yeah, exactly. The draft is in July. It's May.
What do you do with a guy like Cam Atkinson, by the way?
What do you want to build with, though? I think he's a piece you could build with. You're not going to build around him, but he could be a piece that you utilize as you're building this team. I'm a big fan of Cam Atkinson.
I'm a big fan of Cam Atkinson. You need to get more guys in this lineup that shoot first mentality.
I always liked him when he was with the Blue Jackets, but he always seemed to get injured. But when he came to the Flyers and he was able to stay healthy, and he put up a pretty good season this year.
He did, and you know what?
That's why now if you're going to rebuild, okay, you might be able to get a number one for him. I mean, keep in mind when the Rangers did the rebuild, okay, they traded Kevin Hayes. I'm getting Kevin Stevens and Kevin Hayes confused.
That's a name I haven't heard forever.
Yeah. Okay. Well. Yeah. Okay. Kevin Stevens. Oh, boy. Anyway, Kevin Hayes was traded for a first-round pick. Okay. Who else did they trade for? They traded Grabner for a second-round pick, which didn't work out, but they did that. They traded Zuccarello for a second-round pick, and I think a conditional third-round pick. Then they went and they brought in Adam Fox for 2 seconds. But you take a look, the Rangers traded a lot of guys for first-round picks. They loaded up with first-round picks. They took all the players that everybody loved, and they traded them draft picks. And some have worked out, and some haven't. But you take a look at guys like Miller, okay, and Adam Fox, and
I love Kendra Miller
and Lafreniere, okay, and Kakko, who are all developing young players. Hedl, all these guys are really young players. Schneider, they went and they traded up in the first round to get him. I think they gave up. They switched positions and then gave up a second round pick so they could move up and get Schneider. But these are the kind of things they loaded up with draft picks, and they're playing well. and then when they got all these draft picks, then they supplemented the team with guys like Panarin, and it's worked out. Even Igor Shesterkin, he was a 5th round pick, or was he a 4th?
I think he was a 5th.
Okay,
but
yeah,
either way, he was
a
a huge talent coming out of Russia. He had a huge reputation coming out of Russia when they drafted him. And then, like you think about it,
goalies go late too, though.
Right,
Goalies
most
go
goaltenders
late,
are top tier goaltenders are going to go between the 3rd and 5th round.
with the exception of Fleury, though.
But yeah, I mean, there's always an exception to the rule.
Yeah, and they were, and of course, the Penguins were right about Fleury. So but yeah, unless it's Fleury, a guy like Fleury. But no, goaltenders always go late because you can't risk your entire draft on drafting a goalie because they're just too unpredictable.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. No. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Lundqvist,
but it worked out pretty well.
Lundqvist was what, a 7th round pick, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Lundqvist, yeah. I think he was a 7th round pick. Nobody even knew who he was until he came to camp.
Right.
Real quick, I want to do a scoring update real quick for those who are just joining us. We got 3-0 Carolina over Boston right now at the end of the second period. We're a little more than a quarter of the way left in the second period here between Toronto and Tampa. Score is 2-1 in Tampa's favor. But Toronto's buzzing right now.
Wow.
Yes, they are. As a matter of fact, Vasilevsky just made an excellent save on Matthews. I mean, that was a sprawling save he just made on Matthews just now.
I mean, it's like you were saying the other night. He's the best in the world, goaltending wise. There's nobody better than
absolutely.
in the league.
And he's got 2 Stanley Cups to back it up.
Mentally tough too. You make a gap in game 1 like that and come back strong. Like he's just a stud pup. Well, speaking of the draft, also if you missed it earlier, I'm going to run down 16-1. 16 was Buffalo selected, via Vegas Golden Knights. 15 Vancouver, 14 Winnipeg, 13 New York Islanders, 12 Columbus Blue Jackets, 11 San Jose Sharks. Your Ducks at 10, Brian. At 9, Buffalo again. So they're going to have 2 picks in the first 16. Continually trying to rebuild and failing at that. Detroit is going to pick at 8.
It's
Ottawa
a shame.
Senators.
It's a shame.
It is a shame, right? Ottawa is going to be picking at 7. Columbus also with their second pick in the top 12 via the Chicago Blackhawks will be picking at 6. As we alluded to before, Philadelphia Flyers getting pick number 5, Kraken at 4, Coyotes at 3, Jersey Devils at 2, and the Montreal Canadiens at 1. And a couple things about the Habs. They win the draft lottery and number 1 pick with the best odds. That's the second year in a row that's happened. So that's to support. I wanted to give support for the draft lottery before I tear it apart. It's the 6th time in franchise history that the Habs got the first overall pick, but the first time since 1980. Boys, what's your impressions of the draft lottery as it went down?
Well, I'm going to throw it to Brad here in a second, but real quick before I do, first time since 1985 that the hosting city of the NHL draft has the number 1 overall. Brad, it's all you. This way. There you go.
You know what? I've never really had that big of a problem with the draft, to be honest with you. How could I complain? I got Lafreniere a couple of years ago, 3 years ago, and 3 years ago I got Kakko. Then I got Lafreniere. I'm not complaining at all about the lottery. I love the lottery.
It's the 3rd time in a row that the Flyers have been one of the bomb teams and have gotten fucked. That's just why we're up in arms. But I get you.
Well, what drives me a little crazy is that the Devils ended up getting the second pick. I find that excruciatingly annoying, and the fact that Hughes was really good this year. Unfortunately, he kept getting hurt, but Hughes was really good. Who was the Nishier? Is that his name?
Oh, Nico Herscher.
Nico Herscher, yeah. He really developed this year, and then they had a really good first round pick that they had last year, who has yet to get to the NHL because they're taking their time with him. Now they're going to get another second round pick. So that team is going to be when Pittsburgh and Washington finally, sink to the bottom, which is going to happen because they're really getting old, and I just still can't believe that these two teams are playing so well for this long. But eventually, they're going to sink to the bottom. Watch out for that team.
They're putting together a juggernaut in like about 4 or 5 years.
Devils, I love the way their roster shapes out. You look at Nathan Bastian, who's a good young player, just for Brad, who's turning into a great player. Like Brad was saying, Nico Hirschford really developing this year. Jack Hughes really developing this year. Dawson Mercer is going to be a really good center for the Devils in the future.
That one Russian guy they have is a darn good player too.
Jaeger Sharendovich.
Yeah. He's a very talented player. He didn't put up huge numbers this year, but you could just tell by watching him, he's got a lot of ability.
Mm-hmm. I think if they could build up the defense a little bit better around Dougie Hamilton and Damon Severson, I think they're going to be a really good team moving forward. I love Mackenzie Blackwood. I think he just needs some better help in front of him.
That's a problem for them. That is a problem for them.
Yeah, get rid of PK. You have to figure out a way to get rid of him this year. I think, this is what his final year of the contract. So you get rid of him.
Yes,
somebody will take him.
Will no longer be in New Jersey.
Yep. Ty Smith is another young guy to build around.
Hopefully, he'll take his Slewfoot to the Western Conference, and he won't hurt anybody anymore in our conference because he's
not Anaheim. Not that they would take his contract, but
no. Well, he's a free agent. As long as
it's not Anaheim, we're good.
Yeah, he's not a free agent. So he is a free agent. So he's not making $9 million anymore.
But yeah, I like Ryan Grace as your bottom tier player for the Devils. Obviously, you want Dougie Hamilton, Damon Severson on your top pairing, Ty Smith on your number 2.
Right.
And then you just kind of fill in from there, whether it be free agents or somebody in the draft. Colton White's not a bad defenseman. I think he needs a little bit more time.
I don't like him at all. But look, right now their defense is an issue. Blackwood was good when he was healthy. But last year it just seemed like when he got hurt, every time he came back, he kept re-injuring himself and then was not effective. This was a throwout year, kind of, so to speak, for him. It was very unfortunate for what happened with him this year. I like the guy. I've seen the guy when he's on his game, and he's always on his game against the Rangers. So, and that's who I watch most of the time. So, I think the guy's a good goalie.
Well, the good thing about that is Mackenzie Blackwood is still relatively young. So, like I said, if you can build a better defense in front of him, you're not going to have to worry about. Hopefully, I shouldn't say never, but hopefully you shouldn't have to worry too much about injuries or anything like that. You just got to worry about his rebound control and where he's putting the pucks in as far as rebounds go. If he is having bad control, make sure he's putting it off to the corners and not out in front of him. But if you have a good defense in front, you're going to always have somebody in front of you there as support. So if you do have that bad rebound out in front, because it is going to happen, it's the NHL. It doesn't matter how good you are. You're going to have that bad rebound once in a while. You're going to have somebody there to clean up that rebound for you. So,
well, a lot of times,
I think that's the biggest Achilles heel of the Devils.
What I saw a lot of with him was that when like a left wing was coming down the left side and would take a shot, you're right. He did seem to kick a lot of shots back to the right side. And of course, the guy that's coming late on the right, that's coming late is going to be on the right side to get that rebound. And that the Devils' cut defensive coverage this year was terrible. And I think Ruff is also a bad coach. I don't like him at all. I think he's definitely an issue.
I hope none of you heard that.
I did.
My bad.
You're good.
No, my niece is trying to call me. No, my niece is trying to call me right now.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe you had a Cliff Lee moment there.
No. No.
Oh, I thought it was the neighbor going, ow!
No, my door's closed.
I don't know if you saw that from our show, man. His neighbor was just going crazy. We thought it was Little Sweetness next to him.
My back door down in North Carolina, like our weather down here is bipolar. So some days it's really warm, some days it's cool. So it was a really warm night. had my back door open. So like my back door is like literally like right there. So had it wide open, right? And he just out of nowhere, I hear the guy clear as day. He's just going, "Ow!" Just at the top of his, all I start seeing in the comments is guys like Don just pop up. Was like, was that Prince outside your apartment or something? I'm like, wait, y'all heard that? I'm like, I barely heard that. You guys heard it? Everyone's like, clear as day. So it's just kind of been a running joke with this show ever since. It's just been like, ow, and it's going,
I get it.
Sweet. We're just gonna be kind of having some fun with it. So
I'm sorry. The only thing I could think of was a Cliff Lee moment, maybe. So
with the phone call, absolutely. That was a total Cliff Lee moment, but
Sure.
Listen,
Well,
last night my phone was I was getting pelted with text messages last night. Of course, busting my ass about the Rangers naturally.
Oh, of course.
as it should be.
Yeah. So, I got to a point where I just turned off the sound because I didn't want to hear it,
Sure.
It's like, I'm watching it, guys. I know I know that they're getting their asses kicked. I know that. I'm watching, okay? Give me a break.
Right.
Well, the problem is I have my phone and my Mac are kind of linked up. So anytime anybody tries to call me or FaceTime me, it kind of goes to both. So I had this ringing and I had my computer ringing at the same time.
Dumb Apple products. Anyway, let me tell the people about a product we have, and that's Alan Foyer over at XP Realty. If you're looking to buy or sell a home, looking for a change in career or brokerage, you can contact Alan Foyer at XP Realty LLC at 302-682-8820 or visit him at Alan Foyer at xprealty.com. So, boys, getting back into the series, a couple things went down today. Before the draft that were announced, I alluded to the Vezina finalists being announced today, which is Shesterkin from the Rangers, as we said, Calgary Flames, Jacob Markstrom, and the Nashville Predators, Jussi Saros, who we obviously seen what the absence of Saros meant for their playoff chances as they were ousted in 4. They got, considerable good goaltending play, considering the circumstances. But out of those 3 guys, who do you guys got winning the Vezina?
Go ahead, Brad.
Oh, Igor.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a gimme, right? That's a gimme for Brad. Right?
Yeah. I mean, even if he doesn't deserve it, I would say it. So, I mean, I'll admit it. I'm very pro, Igor, but Igor only had 5 shutouts, and I know most Vezina Trophy candidates usually get more shutouts, but he did have a .935 save percentage, which is pretty good.
Pretty damn good.
Pretty good. His goals against average was 2.07. I think that led the league, and that was pretty good too. So
I mean, yeah, it's all right.
I think that those two stats, and he won 36 games. Those 2 stats, I think, earned actually the 3 stats. I think earned him, the trophy this year. Now, thankfully, they don't. That's not including the playoffs because, if there was a rectal award for the way he's been playing in the playoffs, he'd probably get that. But again, I did say before, so I don't want to contradict myself. Not really his fault, but it looks bad. It's bad form when all those goals go in.
Yeah, and like you were saying earlier, Brad. Like, so it's if you've been watching hockey as long as we have, and you understand the sport, it's not every goal that goes in is on the goaltender. A lot of times, you can blame the defenseman in some cases. Like you can't. I don't necessarily fault like you were saying earlier. I don't fault deflections, tip-ins, or what was the other thing you were saying?
Breakaways and 2-on-0s. or a guy.
Yeah, I guess you can't really.
In front of the net. When a guy's standing all in front of the net, all alone in front of the net, that's not the goalie's fault either.
Right. That was what I was thinking of. Is screening. Screening was what I was thinking of. You can't really fault the goalie on that. If it's breakaway you can fault the goalie. I mean, if he's not being patient and lets the player deke him out, yeah, I can fault the goalie on that. But if he's patient enough and he just gets deked out of his, but
let me ask you this though about breakaways. Okay, whose fault is it that there's a breakaway?
I mean, depends. It could be a forward.
Well, I mean, the defense makes the mistake when there's a breakaway. It's up to the goalie to bail him out.
True, and the best example,
defense, sure.
Right, and the best example of that is Alex Ovechkin caused a breakaway in the Florida game. I think it was what game are they up to? Game 4. I think it was game 3. Ovechkin created a breakaway for Kuznetsov.
Right.
That's on Aaron Ekblad because Aaron Ekblad allowed that to happen. But I mean, like, I get your point. I don't disagree with you at all. But
I hear you though. I understand your point though. I do. I'm not saying you're wrong. You're not wrong. But I do and I understand your point. But I mean, why is there a breakaway? The defense screwed up. And when the goalie stops it, that's a big save, and everybody gets. That's when you'll get the goalie's name being chanted by the fans.
No, absolutely.
That's a momentum stop. That's usually a momentum type save.
Oh, absolutely.
It usually churns momentum when that happens.
Absolutely. But for me, it's it's how the goalie handles it determines whether or not I blame the goalie on the breakaway goal. That's essentially just really what I'm saying.
Yeah, out of the three Vezina, definitely Shesterkin has the best stats. Markstrom's got 9 shutouts. I was surprised Soros only had 4, and I just immediately I flocked to Soros as being my lead, in terms of what he means for their team. Kind of like the epitome of an MVP award, but that's not the Vezina. The Vezina, it's purely on how the goaltender performs. So I think it really boils down between Shesterkin and Markstrom, and it pains me to say this. I might give it to Shesterkin.
I mean, I get why you would give it to Shesterkin because I'm contemplating it myself. But the one thing I'm going to look at here, because I think this is going to be my deciding factor, is I'm pulling up the standings as we speak now. If I can actually get it to scroll, there we go.
I mean, while he's looking that up, Brad, am I quick to assume that you take out the factor of what the importance of the goaltender is to the team in the voting for, or does that come into play a la like an MVP award?
Oh, I think it's both. It's both. I mean, the Rangers would not have won without Shesterkin. There's no way it would have made the. You take a look at Georgiev. I don't believe he was even at 900. Okay, yeah, he won 6 in a row at the end of the year. Okay, because the Rangers, when he played, the Rangers went on a rampage and scored a zillion goals for him. Okay, but he, for a long time this year, he was terrible, and they weren't winning. Right. So you could see the difference when Shesterkin came in. He would always restore order.
So he has a little bit of that element too, plus the stats advantage. Okay. What were you looking up, Brian?
So I was looking up, and I'm actually looking up one more stat real quick, is the goals against for each team. And between because I'm between Markstrom and Shesterkin, because I don't think there's a wrong answer between those two.
Right.
So I wanted to look at the goals against, which was pretty much even at Rangers at 207 and Calgary at 208. Now my decision here is I might look at if this would actually work, which apparently it doesn't look like it wants to. I'm looking at shutouts, and I think, Robbie, you said what? Markstrom had 9 to Shesterkin's how many?
5.
I didn't say Shesterkin. I didn't know.
Yeah, Shesterkin had 5, I believe.
5.
Well, then
I looking that up. I remember he had 5. I don't recall him getting number 6, so I'm going to say 5.
Gotcha.
I'm seeing if I can actually pull this up real quick. Because this is actually works out because this is in alphabetical order. So Shesterkin actually does have 6, but I think I'm going to use the shutouts as my tiebreaker here because I think for the most part the stats were fairly even between Markstrom and Shesterkin.
Well, what about goals? What about the percentage?
All right, so
Because I think
Save
save percentage is like ERA in baseball. That's really, to me, that kind of tells you all you need to know about the goalie. Okay.
So I want to know the expected save percentage then.
So Shesterkin, like you were saying, was
true.
935, and Markstrom was 922.
That number is historic. I think there's only been one guy in the last like 30 years that's had a higher stat than that save percentage. I mean, I think who was it that one guy had 942 like a million years ago. I just don't remember who it was. But I remember, they were Sam Rosen and Joe Micheletti were constantly comparing Igor when he was over 940 to this guy. I just can't remember who it was. And obviously he went down to 935, but 935. What was Markstrom's goal percentage?
Markstrom's was 922. So it's not
Right,
huge. Like it's a small difference, but it's a big difference in that same breath.
Well, if you look at 935, okay, that means it's one goal every 17 shots, right? Or is it what? Or is it no? It's one goal every 13 and a half shots, roughly. Okay, and I guess the other one is one goal every 12 shots. 920.
Wow.
So that's pretty close.
So
I looked up this real quick, Brian. I looked up the top save percentages of all time. There's only been 3 goaltenders over 940, or 3 times it was done. Twice by Jacques Plante. That might be who you were talking about, Brad.
Yeah. That's
the third one. The third one was Brian Elliott.
Brian Elliott?
Brian Elliott.
Really?
2011, 2012 had a 940.
Nice.
Wow. That was with St. Louis, right?
Correct. I believe so, yeah.
I will say this, though. Jacob Markstrom saw almost 100 more shots than Shesterkin did. I don't necessarily know if that's a good thing or not. But,
wow.
Yeah, he probably played more games, too, right?
Games played. Shesterkin had 53 and Markstrom had 63. So, yeah, he played 10 more games than he did. And
okay, so 100 more shots really isn't that. That's not really that big of a difference.
No, and then Markstrom led up 137 goals to Shesterkin's 106. So maybe I will go Shesterkin. I wasn't going to go Markstrom just to be different, but you know what? I think this conversation swayed me to take Shesterkin here.
Yeah, might very well be.
He was spectacular during the season. I mean, he really was.
And his 935 is 7th all time.
7th?
7th all time. Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty good. That's a real good season. I mean, he's going to be hard pressed to ever do that again.
Right. That's tough. That's a tough task for any goaltender.
Absolutely. What's up, Prez? Maddie's having an issue with his house, so that's where he's hiding. Hopefully,
he's just afraid. I do a better job hosting. He's afraid to come back. No, not at all. Maddie, please come back. This is hard.
Whenever you want.
Come on, Maddie. We need you.
Well, I'm talking about the reads, man. It's tough to keep up with the reads, and Maddie just does such a great job with it. We take it for granted, Brian. We really do.
He really does. And the best thing about Maddie when he does it.
When he came on our show, when Rob couldn't make it, I decided I said, okay, Rob's not here, so let's just talk hockey. And we had a great show with him. It was a lot of fun.
And the best thing about Maddie is
I watch your show. I watch and listen to your show a lot. Not necessarily the whole thing, but I do. You probably have seen my comments. I remember when you guys were talking about enforcers, and I mentioned that the one guy that I thought was the best fighter I ever saw on the Philadelphia Flyers, and that was Ben Wilson. And I still maintain that.
I still don't know who Ben Wilson is.
Go on hockeyfights.com and watch what he did to Clark Gillies.
Yeah. He was nasty.
I'll do that after the show. I'll definitely do
that. For me, it's always going to be Dave Brown. It's always going to be Dave Brown because that's when I was growing up. You know what I mean? It was Brownie, but I mean, there's a numerous amount of lists there.
Gillies beat up Schultz a couple of times, okay, and Gillies beat up O'Reilly a couple of times, and the only guy I ever saw really beat the hell out of Gillies was Ben Wilson. Go back to fight number 1, not fight number 2, because fight number 2, Gillies
got
was
his
one of the
revenge.
I will
greatest players of
always, I
all
will
time.
always.
So we'll leave
Yeah,
that one
always.
alone. But go to fight
Right.
number 1, because they list on hockeyfights.com. They listed by rounds. Each fight
I
round 1.
Nice.
always be a
Yeah.
fan of George Laraque. George Laraque was a machine. He was
Yeah,
one of the feistiest guys on the ice. Would fight anybody. Had no fear. But off the ice,
Wasn't he
one of the
left-handed
nicest
too?
guys you'll ever meet. I think he
He
was.
was left-handed.
I think that's
too,
probably
wasn't he?
why.
Yeah.
I think it's probably why, because I'm a lefty too, so I kind of lean towards those lefties.
Yeah, no, lefties are. It's impossible to fight a lefty. You can't block. You can't block their straight their cross. You just can't.
Only guy I knew in the NHL that ever had dreadlocks was George Laraque. I loved George Laraque.
I usually
love
block
watching
it with
him
my face. Ugh.
Yeah.
because you never see it coming.
The chin, especially.
Yeah, for sure. Another thing I heard today, boys. Patrick Marleau retired after 23 seasons.
Yeah,
I can't believe he's played this long.
Right? But listen to this rundown. So he's played 1,779 games, which is most in NHL history. I didn't know that. 566 goals, 631 assists for 1,197 points. 243 of those points being on the power play alone. It's an impressive little stat line. I mean, I was wondering, does Marleau, does he get to the Hall? Or does he not? Because I don't believe he's won a cup, right?
No, unfortunately, he
No.
never did. He went cup chasing with Toronto, and I want to say one
Listen,
other team.
if my guy Pat Verbeek isn't in the Hall of Fame, okay, then you can't put him in the Hall of Fame. And Pat Verbeek
I hear that.
is the only guy in the history of hockey that has 500 goals, 500 assists, and 2,000 penalty minutes.
My man. I
And he's
respect
my
Pat
GM.
Verbeek.
Let's go.
He was. I'll tell you what. I know he was on the Devils most of his career, but he had a couple of years with the Rangers, and you know what? He you talk about a pest, okay? Like Kenny Linsman or Esa Tikkanen or now Brad Marchand, okay?
Yeah.
He was one of the most annoying players you'd ever find anywhere. And he was always getting into fights constantly, usually lost, but constantly getting into fights.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we're looking.
If you have 500, to me, if you have 500 goals, it's like baseball. It should be no questions about it.
Because it's hard to score 100, let alone 500. I mean,
Right.
I agree with you. I think Verbeek should have been in. I mean, but as far as like the recent season, like we're seeing Ryan Getzlaf going, he's retired. He's probably taking a front office job with the Ducks. Dustin Brown announced at the end of the year that he's going to be retiring. I don't know if he's with the team in the playoffs because those games are too late for me anymore. I can't stay up that late and watch them anymore. So I don't know if he's playing in the playoffs or not. And then now Patrick Marleau. These are three guys that I've pretty much grown up watching. It's just getting crazy watching some of these guys retire. It's just going to be different watching. Not having Getzlaf, not having Dustin Brown, who's been a pest for most of his career as well, and Patrick Marleau. These guys
have had a lot of really good players that have left recently.
Yeah.
I mean, really recently. You go back, and the Ducks have had some real good players on their team. They really have. They really have.
Yeah.
It's tough. Corey Perry. I'm sure every time you see him on another team, it probably is annoying to see him on another team. And Corey Perry.
I wanted to win one more. He's potentially going to have 3 chances to win a cup in the last 3 years. So he needs to win one of them.
He might. He's a tough
you
player.
Can't beat him. Join him, right? Because he lost with Dallas to Tampa Bay. He lost with Montreal to Tampa Bay. So now he's on Tampa Bay. You don't beat him. Join him.
Yeah, I mean, he's my type of player. See, I like the guys that can throw the fists, play a little dirty, and score a hell of a lot of goals. Those are my type of players. Okay,
Yeah,
I don't like players who just score and don't defend themselves and don't have a little edge to their game. I don't like that because
Right.
they never.
Is
In
he
big games, they don't show up.
Is Corey Perry the Marian Hossa of this era? Is that what you're trying to say?
That's exactly what I'm saying. But the difference is, at least Marian Hossa won a couple.
I forgot.
Marian Hossa won a couple.
He did.
Corey Perry hasn't won one since his rookie year.
True.
Yeah, Corey Perry's a heck of a. He's a heck of a player, though.
He is. I mean, he hasn't been the same since that knee injury, but he's still a good player. I still like having having him on the team, but it's different without him.
He's a bottom. He's a good bottom six kind of player. And Carolina just scored again, so it's 4-1. By the way.
Yeah, I with Corey though, like he still has his uses. You know, he's good at drawing penalties. He's good at getting under players' skins, and people want to call him a dirty player. I don't necessarily know if I'd call him dirty because he doesn't really do anything bad. He just knows how to get. He's a pest. He's a pest. He's not quite to Marchand's level, but he's a pest.
No,
he's a guy that knows how to get under your skin.
Marchand intends to injure. That's the difference is that he tries to hurt people, and that's a problem. Perry he's annoying because he'll know when the referee's looking and when he's not looking, and he'll give you the little elbow or the little butt end into your side and stuff like that, just to get on your nerves.
Or if you're Jeff Carter, he's going to take his water bottle and just spray it into your glove and make your glove completely uncomfortable for the next however long the period is. I've seen him do that. That's fun.
Yeah,
he does a lot of fun stuff too. Like he'll do that stuff you just said, but he does some stuff to kind of make you laugh as well.
And the goalie shower, he was famous for that too.
Yeah, he was. He also did a lot of that because his move while he was going through that peak of his scoring before he busted up that knee was he did the power move to the right side of the goaltender, and he would hit you top corner glove side. That was his move every time. He'd go top corner glove side, and he would hit it.
He could also do it when he's on the right hand side too. That was what was
right.
I do remember that because he scored a couple of goals on Lundqvist like that.
Oh,
I remember one time he splashed Lundqvist with that splash of his. Lundqvist went nuts on him. He was. I
remember that.
He was chasing him around the ice, and
I remember
the
that.
Ranger players were like, the Ranger players, of course, all came in to get Lundqvist out of there, but he was going nuts over it. Lundqvist ended up getting a penalty for it.
Yeah, I remember that game. That was back when I can't wait for Anaheim to get back to being a playoff contender again. I'm very excited for their future.
They're close.
They're very close. They're very close.
They're young. They're just young. They're like the Rangers. The Rangers are basically 1 year ahead of them. I like
obviously McTavish is going to be a huge part of this team moving forward. Obviously Trevor Zegras, Drysdale.
Yeah, Jamie Drysdale is good.
Zegras is a mixture of Barzal and Kane. He's got Kane's hand and Barzal's smarts.
Yeah,
he just knows what to do with the puck.
Yeah, he's also fast too. He can fly up and down the ice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he can stick handle like Mario Lemieux used to be able to back in the day too. I mean, he's one heck of a player.
He just does it so effortlessly too. That's the thing that still boggles my mind after watching him for 2 years. He does everything. He just puts no effort into it. It just comes so easy to the kid.
If the Ducks can find a sniper in the off season, and maybe a guy like Line, they have a very good farm system. Maybe they can get a guy like Line over there because that would be a guy. He's still young, and I think he'd fit in. He'd be a good fit with Anaheim.
The only problem with Line is he's an RFA. It's just a matter of what the compensation is going to be going back the other way. I don't want to give up too much to get Line, and the only upside to getting Line is he's still 24. So there's still a lot of time to keep Line.
Yeah, well,
and they have plenty of cap space.
Line is going to get you 40 goals
on a good team. Absolutely.
Yeah, on a good team. If he played with Zegras, he'd get 40 goals.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree.
Dog goes Zegras is okay.
Yeah, he's just mad because he doesn't have him. This is like
Well,
I'm saying,
but
Lucas
no,
Raymond
he's saying like what you're shooting right over Zegers. Like don't. That's how I interpreted that comment.
I mean, I'm interpreting it as like it's the same way I interpret Lucas Raymond. He's all right.
By the
He's
way,
fine.
Frank Bestby,
We'll get you.
Frank
He's
Bestby on the
okay.
ones and Frank Bestby on the ones and
He's
twos,
okay.
bringing tonight's show. I'm glad you showed that comment, Frank, to just show people that I wasn't like fucking around on my phone. I was actually commenting back to people. I appreciate that, Frank.
Oh, you're never just fucking around on your phone. You better stop that.
Yeah. You threw my comment up there. I was like, we missed the piss out of you, Priz. Yeah, glad you're here. Glad Jesse's here. I wish the Flyers had Barzell. He's a modern day hockey player. Truth? Yeah. That's
He really is.
game, right?
He's smart. He's a smart player too. You see it every time he has the puck. He has a very high IQ. He just needs better players around him.
Right. Jimmy chimed in. He goes, who do you guys have tonight, Wild or Blues?
Where are they? They're game 5, so they're
in
back
Minnesota, right? They're in Minnesota then.
Give me the Blues. Give me the Blues tonight.
Ooh. Yeah, game 5 in Minnesota, starting about to just set the drop right now on ESPN.
That can definitely be a 7-game series. You're right about that series.
I got that. That series, it's like them and Tampa Bay, Toronto are guaranteed locks for 7 games, and they've been going back and forth with just blowout after blowout on each side. I think Minnesota comes back and responds after St.
Tonight
Louis
for the Tampa Bay and Toronto. Tonight's this game is a hell of a game. I mean, I've been kind of peeking at it. Both goalies are making tremendous saves.
Last I saw, Blues only had not the Blues. The Leafs only had like 12 shots on net, and they had 1 goal. Are they showing the shot counter up there? Because I got the 4-1 Carolina game on right now.
No, they don't have the shot counter up there. Just there's 19:23 to go in the third period.
Oh, Swayman with a huge turnover to who's 16? Trocheck had a wide open net and missed. Oh, that was a terrible giveaway by Swayman.
They're not scoring. They're not scoring 3 goals against Boston in the third period on the road. I mean, Boston's not scoring 3 goals on Carolina on the road.
Not with 5:50 left. Not with just shy of 6 minutes.
Carolina right now, as I said, at this point of the series, do you really think Boston can go into Carolina and win?
Right now, no. With the way David, the way that atmosphere is in there right now, absolutely not. I mean, the Hurricanes. First of all, the Hurricanes defense has been really good all season long, and you mentioned that earlier.
They got the best. They have the best defense in the league, don't they?
They're definitely top 3. I don't know if they're number 1.
Their goals against average. I think their goals against was the lowest in the league this year. If I'm not, I may not be. Maybe I'm wrong, but I could have sworn that the last time I looked at the standings, they had the lowest goals against in the league.
Well, I know they're definitely top 3. I know that for a fact. I'll
shut up here in a minute, but
they're just good. And
they are hard to play against. You know, they give you no room to set up. The only way you can score really on them is on the power play, because they're one of those teams. They block a million shots, and they're extremely smart. Their defensemen all are smart at moving the puck and creating odd man rushes. They're just really a tough team to play against. And although they don't have the best fighter in the league or any of that kind of stuff, they're all kind of nasty. You know, they all have an edge to them.
Yeah, and they don't have a legit superstar. But, you know, what Rod Brind'Amour does with this team is...
Aho's pretty close.
Oh, he's damn close. They don't have that like legit like guy you're going to carry the entire team on your back and I'm going to take you to a win. They roll all 4 lines, and all 4 lines knows how to produce.
Yeah, they can all score.
Yeah, they absolutely. They were saying that their third line.
When you have a fourth line that scores, it's almost impossible. It's almost impossible, and they're great defensively.
Yeah. Okay. 24 Tampa and 18. Yeah, that's about right. With Carolina's third and fourth lines, most NHL teams second and third. Like that's how deep they are. They don't need that legit superstar to score goals. They just do it. They always have somebody in front of the net, and that's how they scored their third goal. Seth Jarvis was in front of the net. He created a little bit of havoc, and the puck found its way in. That's just how they are. And you know what? They're really young too, and they've just been there. They have the experience. These guys the guys you need to lean on are the guys you can lean on. And Jordan Staal. Game over for Jordan Staal. One of the best captains in the league because one, he's been around. Two, he knows how to keep the composure. And two, he knows how to control that locker room.
By the way, you should turn on the Tampa Bay game now. Stamkos just took a really bad penalty, high sticking penalty. Toronto is now on the power play. The defenseman just cross-checked Stamkos in the back. And Stamkos went and took a stick and speared him in the face. Not smart. Not smart. Got a 2-minute pay. Either it was a spear or he high sticked him, but he definitely did it on purpose. So,
well, I just flipped it over.
Yeah, Toronto is now on a power play. No, it's 4-on-4, but it's going to be 5-on-4. I'm sorry. You know what? It's 4-on-4 now. But with all this extra,
wow!
There's going to be golden opportunities now. 4-on-4.
Wow! Wait for it.
Yeah,
there it is. Do I have great timing, guys? Do I have great timing?
Riley.
Well done. Well done.
I was going to say more ice to play with, but before I said it,
what a move! Just deeking around. Hard work and gritty move by Tavares to find the wide open Riley.
What a pass he made! Look at his pass. And where's Tampa Bay, by the way? Who's covering?
They're all covering Tavares.
Yeah, who's covering Riley in the? I mean, he's in the slot. You can't blame the goalie
wide
for that.
Open.
Hmm?
Yeah, those are the kind of goals the Rangers have been giving up. I mean, you can't allow.
It comes from puck watching. You're watching the puck and not playing the man.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Oh, look at this right off the fit. No, okay, they blocked the 2-on-1, but yeah, I still think Toronto's going to end up winning this game, and then Tampa Bay is going to win game 6. So, I mean, we all agreed about this being a 7-game series. I think that this is going to happen.
Yeah, and now you got Toronto's fan base into this game, and that's a very tough atmosphere to play in. You know, it's one of the toughest arenas to play in the league because they get loud. And now momentum's on Toronto's side as well. So Tampa Bay's got their work cut out the rest of the period here.
Yep. They also were used to be known as a fan base that sat on their hands. You know, but of late, you know, with this new generation of Leafs, they're not like that anymore.
No, and I heard you were saying, and because I would agree with you for the most part on Monday that, you know, you weren't sold on Toronto's deep. Oh my God. I got to stop talking because goals tend to get scored when I talk.
They really do.
There it is. 3-2 Toronto.
William Nylander with a snipe.
Steven Stamkos right now has got to be eating his heart out.
Yeah.
Because he took the penalty that made it 4-on-4, and Toronto is really capitalized.
He just absolutely sniped that puck.
Nice shot. Far side.
Off the inside of the post.
Young Nylander.
What a beautiful pass, too.
They almost lost him, too. Him and Marner. They almost lost them both. Dan, have a good night, brother. But what I was saying before is, you know, you were saying on the Sports Sounds that, you know, you weren't completely sold on them defensively, the Maple Leafs. I like the moves they made this past offseason and at the deadline to get better on the defensive side. That's why I picked Toronto to upset Tampa in this series and finally get over the hump.
Well, I have to admit, I picked Tampa because Toronto, until they win a series, I'm never going to pick them.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all.
You know what? Them and Florida both have disappointed too many times. Even as good as Florida has been, Has Florida ever won a? I mean, I'm not counting the year they went to the finals, okay? But have they ever won a playoff series?
Not recent memory, but I'll put it to you this way, though, in terms of this series with Tampa Bay and Toronto. I thought that, looking at Tampa Bay, who's a team that's played a lot of hockey the past 3 seasons, that they were going to eventually hit the wall. And that's what you were seeing early on in the series. And to Toronto's credit, not only did they get, a career year from Austin Matthews coming in, taking that leadership role, but they added that toughness, that grit that's really been costing them past playoff series. I did have Toronto beating Tampa Bay and ending the three-peat.
Well, listen, Muzzin makes a big difference. He's tough,
right?
And Jack Campbell is not Frederick Anderson. He's proven to be a money goalie.
He's stronger mentally. It's hard to play goaltender in Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
It really is.
Yeah, this is true.
And then you went out and you got, at the deadline, and this has been a huge move for them. Is you go out and get Mark Giordano, age veteran, huge leader. It was a huge move for Toronto.
Yeah, that was a big move. I mean, the Rangers were trying to get him, and I was really hoping that they would get him so he could play with Schneider, because I thought that would have been a great acquisition to have him and Schneider playing together. For especially for Schneider, but unfortunately the Leafs went nuts trying to get him. So
yeah, and apparently Giordano wanted to play there. He wanted to spend at least 1 year playing for his hometown team. I'm assuming he's probably planning on retiring after this year or in the
everybody.
very near future.
Everybody in the league at one point wants to play for Toronto. There are 2 teams everybody wants to play for: Toronto and Montreal. That's just how it is. They're 2 historic franchises. I mean, everybody else, if they're home team, if they're their hometown teams, but every player, all these guys, they know the history with Toronto and Montreal. Those are the 2 old Canadian teams that used to dominate back in the day. They're probably their fathers probably all were watching Toronto and Montreal. That they were always the favorite 2 teams.
Yeah.
So, and don't forget, they also used to. Well, there also was no draft before 1968. So all the player, it was everybody kind of, it was wherever you played in junior hockey, whatever location, all the teams owned junior hockey teams. Like Kitchener, the Rangers owned them. So any player that went to Kitchener was Ranger property. Every French Canadian wanted to play in Montreal. Okay, all the English Canadians wanted to play in Toronto. So that's why they had such great teams. None of them wanted to play for the Rangers. None of them wanted to play for the Blackhawks. And Boston was in the same boat. Nobody really wanted to play with them either. So, you had all the top French Canadians in Montreal, and the rest of them went to Toronto.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of those. Go ahead, Robbie.
Just addressing the commenter here. Are you talking about the OT winner for Verhaeghe? Because that was Drew. I believe that was Drew or whatnot. And I'm going to get into that in our shootout segment. I'll save that for there, not to allow Brian to forget his point. But what I will say for Florida's sake right now is that they're really relying on those vets, moving G up to that top line, moving Chariot up to the number 1 D pairing with Ekblad. That was a game that they needed to win. We talked about that earlier in the show. I believe Brad made that point, and they got that win. So it'll be interesting where that series goes from there, Brian.
That was gut check time for them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
it seems like every team, when they win a series, there's always a gut check game.
Right.
Except for, of course, Colorado. They just overwhelmed Nashville. But
quick side note too, that commercial for the playoffs that has that old timer Ranger fan wanting to see one more cup, the Crosby and Malkin wanting one more together, and then Giroux. Does that not just get the hair on the back of your neck like standing up? Like it's the perfect freaking commercial. If you want to build up, you took over, ESPN took over hockey to build up ratings. That got the job done.
It was that they did a good job with that.
Right.
They did a good job with that.
Oh, speaking of, Sixers got smoked tonight, 120-85.
Oh my God.
Oh boy.
No wonder the chat was going nuts. The WhatsApp chat was going crazy.
That's right. One of my fantasy groups is going crazy right now. They just keep ripping on Harden. That's all they do in my one fantasy football group. They just rip on Harden.
Speaking of which, Brian, talking about fantasy, I want to tell the people, if you haven't joined us, if you're joining us for the first time, about FanUp. It's the best way to enjoy fantasy sports, daily NBA contests, and more. You win great prizes. Sign up today. Use promo code A2D for 5,000 bonus points. It's a $50 value. FanUp.app.
Also, to go with that, become an A2D member over on the YouTube side. We got the link somewhere over there. I believe it's in the chat somewhere. Yeah. So $9.99 a month. You get all kinds of perks to go with that. You get appearances on shows, members only streams, shout outs from Willie Vegas, who you can catch on Agree to Disagree. And you can get a little bit of a tip from, the guy, the myth, the legend, Nate Money Moss. These guys are going to win you some money. So check them out. You get special videos from those guys as well. So they'll let you make the picks that you want to make. You're going to win some money on the side. And essentially, the A2D membership is going to pay for itself. So make sure you hit that.
Ow! What a great segue.
Damn right. That's sweet.
That's so spot on.
My neighbors are going to hate me one day. I swear to God, I'm going to do a show one day, and all of a sudden I'm just going to hear boom, boom, boom on my front door. Shut the fuck
All right,
up.
boys. We got about 10 minutes left to go in the program. Brian, why don't you give us a quick scoring update, and then we'll get into the shootout.
We got a 3-2 Toronto lead over Tampa Bay now, about midway-ish through the third period. And let me flip back here real quick. So Carolina and Boston's over. I'm assuming it was a 4-1 victory for Carolina. Carolina wins that one.
Yeah.
And we are 0-0 just getting underway in the first period between Minnesota and St. Louis in St. Paul.
And what's the fourth game later on tonight? Do you know?
Edmonton
LA
and LA.
Edmonton.
That's what I thought. Right.
They're doing their game 5 as well. Can I just say?
Tampa Bay just tied it.
Oh,
of course, as soon as they freaking flip it. 5-1 victory for Carolina. 5-1 victory. Can I just say, the one good thing about the NHL going to TNT and ESPN, it's a lot easier to watch both games instead of having to go between like 3 games in one day to USA, to CNBC, to whatever freaking channel that they have them on. It's been easier to find these games.
Yeah, they're scheduled more spaced out. Like it seems much more orderly instead of like, you're like, what channel is it on tonight? What game is on what? Yeah, for sure. Thank you for TNT. I didn't give them credit before when I don't want to praise ESPN unduly. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean TNT, TBS. I mean they're just overall these networks are doing a better job at making these games a little bit easier to find and spacing them out better and making sure that it's four games tonight versus let's do 1 game tonight. We'll do 3 tomorrow. We'll do 2 the next day. We'll do 3 more the next day. It's just
they
have a little bit more.
Have a pretty good system. They do this year. They do. By the way, the goal, just to rub it into the Rangers' faces, Brian McDonough scored the tying goal.
Of course, it was McDonough.
Yeah, of course, it was McDonough.
Rangers South, right?
Yeah, I mean that trade, that one trade that they made, when they traded Miller and McDonough for all those draft picks and all those players, they got fleeced so bad in that trade. Oh my God! It's a constant reminder. Miller is a point a game guy now, and McDonough wins 2 Stanley Cups with Tampa Bay, and now he just scored a huge goal to tie the game on the road in Toronto. Still think Toronto's going to find a way to win this game, though.
Oh yeah, I mean that crowd's still buzzing. Toronto right now is controlling the puck in the Tampa Bay zone right now, so they're buzzing a little bit. Not taking the best shot quality, but a lot of the times it just all it takes is just tiring out the defense to create an open opportunity. And Sergachev looks like he took a high stick that's not going to get called.
Oh,
Well, the thing is once you start getting momentum and playing in the other team's zone, it's just a matter of time before they make a mistake or they get tired or they get caught on the ice too long. And something bad's going to happen because that generally is what ends up happening when they're on the ice too long. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, when you get tired like that, you get a little bit desperate to try and make a play with the puck so you can get off the ice, and a lot of times it's going to lead to a mistake.
Yeah, and or you ice it, which just makes matters worse because then you're on the ice for another faceoff.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to face off.
It looks like right now, Tampa Bay is having trouble getting into Toronto's zone. They can't seem to stay.
Really?
They're not forechecking very well right now. Toronto seems to own the puck right now.
Yep.
Well,
like you see them going in there. There's always somebody in there trying to forecheck. Up and down now.
All right, Robbie. Let's wrap this thing up here, brother.
You boys ready for the show? Brad, you've listened to the show before. We usually fire 3 random things. First thing off the top of your head. Favorite moment of the week?
Oh, the Rangers winning game 2 when Frank Vetrano scored the go-ahead goal. That was my favorite moment.
Good moment getting back, they evened it up at 1 with that game, right?
Yep. But that was the go-ahead goal that put them ahead, and then they from there they ended up winning the game 5-2. It's hard to believe you could win one game 5-2 and then lose another game 7-2. That's only in the NHL. Oh wow, did that not go in?
Only in the NHL. Well, I hope they win game 5 and make that a 7-game series and piss on the Pens. Brian, favorite moment of the week?
Oh gosh, there've been a few. I'm gonna be that guy watching Avalanche just because I hate Nashville. Watching them sweep Nashville and sending them home early. That's my favorite moment of the week. Anytime the Predators are knocked out, it's not that I hate the team. I hate the fan base. The fan base is one of the worst fan bases in the NHL. I hate them.
You don't like when they chant the goalie's name 3 times and they say
no,
you suck.
Nope. I hate it. I hate it.
That's funny.
I think that's classic. It's something that I'm surprised like Ranger fans wouldn't come up with because that's a very Ranger fanish kind of thing to do.
But it's but it's like this chant that. It's not even just the 3. It's like, they chant the goalie's name 3 times and say, it's all your fault. It's all your fault. You suck. You like this. It's this whole thing. Ever since the Nashville Predators eliminated the Ducks in the Western Conference Finals, I was just like, nope, done. I hate this fan base. I'm done with them. Done. Nope, never again.
I can understand that if you play them a lot because I can get. That is annoying. It's like, you guys have been around for what, like 20 years? And you're trolling like that. Go back home.
Oh, Nashville. Nashville's like 20 years. 20. Anaheim's 27. And they were what, 2000? Yeah, 20 years. 21 years,
right?
Yeah.
Something like that. But
yeah.
Listen, bottom line is they've never won the cup, so they did go to the finals once, but they were nowhere near Crosby's team's level. That's for sure.
I mean, the
wasn't that the year that they won? Wasn't that the year they won without Letang?
Think so. And Toronto just took the lead.
Oh,
Matthews.
Boston
freaking Matthews.
I mean,
all right, boys, we got to wrap this show up. I'm going to go with the Sam Reinhart tying the game late against the Caps with a hard-working goal, and then Carter Verhaeghe, Prism's boy, with the second of the night to win it in overtime for Florida, a game they absolutely needed to have. Closet Florida fan this year, no big surprise. Brad, favorite series so far?
Oh, the Toronto Tampa Bay game series. I've been watching I've been watching this series most out of all the series, and this one's a fun one. I think everybody in the free world is rooting for Toronto, as far as not fans, but all the teams are rooting for Toronto to win this series. Very simply because nobody wants to try to beat Tampa Bay. They want Tampa Bay out as early as possible.
Agreed.
So
I'm with you.
Nobody wants to play that.
Best series so far.
Cool. I had that too. I will throw in Dallas Calgary too. That's going to continue to go back and forth. Minnesota Wild and St. Louis Blues has been fantastic too. I'm going to go with the Wild Blues. Hot take for the first round. Do you have any predictions, any opinions that you want to lay down before we wrap up this happy hour, Brad?
You know what? It's going to go back to the Rangers, of course. Okay,
Sure.
And
while you're here, that's why we're having you.
While I'm here, I have to get this in. If you're going to lose, okay, go out and play your game. Stop trying to do stuff that you're not capable of doing. You went and you had 110 points this year by playing defense first and playing smart hockey. Okay, stop playing scared and go out and play your game and start hitting people. Okay, you beat the Penguins 3 out of 4 games this season. Okay, you didn't have any problem doing that. The Penguins scored 3 goals against you playing your game. I don't know what the hell is going on with this team that they didn't settle down and just play defensively and smart and capitalize on the power plays and on the odd man rushes. But something has happened to this team. Go back to playing that way, and you'll be fine.
Well said. Well said. I got one off the tip of my tongue, Brian, if you're not ready to go, but the floor is yours.
No, go for it, Robbie. Let it go.
I started saying it before, and we went into a different subject. This gives me the perfect opportunity to circle around. The NHL draft lottery is a fucking joke, and it needs to be done live with the lottery balls in person, just like when Brad's Rangers got the number 1 pick. I want to see it in person because the numbers shit did not pan out the way it was supposed to. I'm not even saying just for the Flyers. The Devils at 2 should not have happened. I'm fine with Montreal. They had the best odds. They were the worst team in the league. But if you run down 1-16, it was not right. And no way, I will be a homer in this aspect, should the Flyers have been out of the top 3, let alone top 4.
I don't disagree. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I really don't. The draft lottery to me is a huge part of it is a joke, especially now that they don't do it live anymore, like they used to. They need to do it live.
That's wrong that they don't do that. That's wrong.
Right?
Absolutely. Ooh, my hot take. I'm trying to think of where the series are. All the series are. I think the majority of them are 2-2. I'm gonna ride the same one I've been riding the last couple weeks. I'm gonna ride the same one I've been riding the last couple weeks. I think the Kings take Game 5 tonight, and I think they eliminate the Oilers in Game 6.
Ooh.
Wow.
You know me, Robbie. I'm not big on their goaltending and their defense. Right. Their offense carries the Oilers.
Heads are gonna roll in Edmonton if that happens. Can you imagine?
Hey, listen, I'm hearing rumors with Gibson to Edmonton. Send us Draisaitl. Give us Draisaitl. We'll trade you Jonathan Gibson for Leon Draisaitl.
Yeah, I'll bet you will.
Let's go.
I'll tell you what. I'll throw in Patrick Nemeth too.
Hey, listen, I'll be okay even if they took like the initial rumor here before we wrap it up because we're a little over. Was apparently Jesse Puljujarvi being a part of the package for Jonathan Gibson, which I'll take Puljujarvi. I'm a big fan of Puljujarvi.
I like him. I always liked him.
He needs a scenery change. I think with the way that Anaheim's built up right now, he would have a lot of success. But hey, listen, Draisaitl wants out. We're looking to trade a goalie. Y'all need a goalie. Just saying. Robbie, let's go.
Let's do this. Sponsoring tonight's shootout, of course, our doc, Make 'em Yours, Dr. Paul Vidal, Specialized Physical Therapy, LLC, with 2 locations in Burlington, Cherry Hill, New Jersey. You can find him online, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. It's been a lot of fun, Brad. You've been great. Obviously, a big hockey mind. Thanks for spending your time with us here on the Happy Hour.
Thanks for having me, guys. It was my pleasure.
Absolutely. You can catch Brad again Monday nights with Rob Brakeman, Sports Hounds, right here on a2dradio.com. For the absent Mets and Sudi, we wish you good luck. Get back soon, sir. Brian Daly, Frank Bestby producing tonight. We appreciate you as always, the fam. Thanks for chiming in with all the comments tonight. We'll catch you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Peace out.